All right, welcome everybody. So we are doing the Bitcoin roundup. I started to do a few streams before, but you're joining from X or from YouTube. I want to welcome you to this stream. In this live stream, I'm going to be going over a few of the updates that have occurred over the last week to 2 weeks since the last live stream occurred. We've been putting out some content around wine, some content around dog. We've also, since the last stream, put out a collection called I'm Back Bitches. Goes by the name of IBB, which is launched on Magic Eden. Conducted an interesting experiment of documenting the process of what it takes to go from idea to having an Ordinals collection launched. We've documented that and we'll be sharing information about that. We'll also be covering a little bit on this stream about the overall market conditions and, sort of what they mean. Are they unusual for this time of the year, this season, this part of the cycle, or do they show patterns that we've seen before in the cycle around 2020 and 2021 and similar to the patterns we've seen around 2016 to 2018? So we'll be going over all of that. All right, so without any further ado, let's kind of get into the first thing I want to cover, which is going to be the market update. So here we can see a few things that I want to go over. First is the general market conditions and trends. So let's kind of take a look at it. Obviously, it looks like a bit of a red day right now. Bitcoin's at 95,000. I always like to come back to perspective though, right? So currently Bitcoin is sitting at 95,000. If you go to CoinMarketCap, you're seeing red all across and you might be wondering, hey, what's happening? What are some of the factors that are causing it? But before we dive into those factors, I want to bring your attention to something interesting here, which is, let's go into the Bitcoin chart, for example. So we're sitting at February 6th right now, and let's go to the 1 year chart. So 1 year ago today, we were sitting at 44K, right? And today we are sitting at 121% higher than that at about 96K. So perspective is really, really important because while we're thinking the market's, is bearish, everything's over, that's it, pack your bags, sell all your crypto. It's important to understand the perspective that the bull cycle is not just like this one massive God candle that comes through. It follows certain patterns. And more important than the price and market cap, there are other things to monitor that indicate that pattern. So for example, we could see certain patterns form over here over the last year. We saw, let's go back to, for example, the 2020 to 2021 cycle. So right here around January, we had Bitcoin sitting at about 40K in January 2021. And then we had a correction towards the end of January, early February, where Bitcoin had corrected back to about 34K, which is like following to the T. That pattern seems to be like, take a look at this here. So a bump up all the way on January 8, 2021 to all the way to 40.7K, which was an all-time high by then. And then a correction back to 32, a little bit of consolidation. And then over the next month or so, it touched about 60K, 63K at one point, hitting all-time highs before the dominance fell around the April-May checkpoint. And then Bitcoin price corrected a little bit because alt season started. Now, the price, as I mentioned, is not the only factor you want to look at. There's something else that's very important, and understanding these patterns, especially for those of you that are in this bull run for the first time. There are obviously past patterns are not always indicative of future performance, but they do provide some insight, and that's what we can see here. If you look at this Bitcoin dominance chart, I'm also going to show you how you can find it. Just simply go to Google and search Bitcoin dominance. And one of the first results that comes up for me is the BTC chart, right? And it said the trading view chart is the one that I love to watch very closely. It's a really good interface. If you don't have an account, you might want to consider getting one with trading view as well. It really helps understand some of the patterns and tools they have are excellent on here. But let's take a look at this specific chart. Right now, by default, it shows the 1 day view, which is great. But for me, I want to kind of take a look at a few more data points. So one of them being that in a 1 year Bitcoin dominance rating right now, Bitcoin dominance is sitting at an all-time high for 1 year. For the 5 year period and all-time period, you see some interesting data here. So today, Bitcoin dominance is sitting at 61.79%, right? And what is Bitcoin dominance? Let's take a step back because I don't want to assume that everybody watching the stream already understands Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin itself is such a large asset, and being the first chain that started off the entire cryptocurrency movement, the Bitcoin dominance chart is indicating that this Bitcoin asset, BTC itself, is 61%, 61.79% to be exact right now, the size of the entire rest of the market combined. So if the entire market was, let's say, $100 trillion as an example, Bitcoin would be $61.78 trillion of that. So more than half of the market is just the Bitcoin asset, right? Which is one of the reasons that, if you've seen some of the content on my profile when I've posted about tokens on Bitcoin and the largest token of Bitcoin being Dog, that's why I'm so bullish, because this is a chain where liquidity is extremely untapped. Ethereum, for example, which started the DeFi movement, has about 25 to 30% utilization of ETH, which is the asset on the Ethereum chain. That means that 25 to 30% of all ETH in circulation is being used for DeFi activities such as lending, borrowing, swapping, staking, various different activities, including NFT purchases, so on and so forth in the EVM ecosystem. On Bitcoin, the BTC utilization is still at less than 1% for the DeFi related activities. Now, that is massive because obviously Bitcoin is much, much larger of an asset than Ethereum. Even by market cap, if you want to go and take a look at it, Bitcoin is $1.9 trillion and Ethereum is $324 billion. So if we go $325 billion and about 25% of that is allocated towards DeFi activities, that means 81.25 billion of ETH has been allocated towards different DeFi activities, as I mentioned before. Now, if you apply that same principle to the market cap of Bitcoin, that would mean that if Bitcoin reaches the same utilization level for Bitcoin tokens or Bitcoin ecosystem, the same 25% utilization level as ETH, it would amount to the utilization, the market cap of all DeFi assets on Bitcoin being larger than the market cap of Ethereum itself. This is the amount of liquidity that is available on Bitcoin. And this is why when Bitcoin moves, the market moves, right? So understanding Bitcoin dominance is very important. Coming back to that. So what we're seeing here is Bitcoin dominance currently sitting at 61.77%. It's following the same pattern that we saw before. So if we go back to the 2020 cycle over here, right around 2021, here you can see let's go to January. So right here on 31st of January, we were sitting at 61.73. I mean, it's like bonkers. It's like we're living in a simulation is what I feel like sometimes, that how exact these patterns end up matching. So 61.73% on 31st January 2021, which is about 4 years ago, which was a few months after the 2020 halving, which occurred. I believe it was in like May of 2020 that Bitcoin halving occurred. And then we had a dominance rise following that, which is what we're seeing here. So 61.73 4 years ago, and today 61.76. Well, then looking at the past patterns, we might be curious, what happens when Bitcoin dominance is high versus is low? How does it impact alts? How does it impact meme coins? How does it impact the coins you might be into, whether you're in the trenches on Solana, whether you're looking at Bitcoin tokens and meme coins on Bitcoin or any other ecosystem? Well, the dominance has a lot to do with it because the profits from Bitcoin are what end up rolling over into altcoins, and is what we call alt season begins after that. So previously in January to February, the dominance remained pretty similar. Let me zoom into this for you guys a little bit. So you can see over here that the dominance levels went from 61.73 at the end of January of 4 years ago to about towards the end of February, about 60%. So February was not really a large activity month 4 years ago when the previous cycle occurred and the DeFi movement was going on. However, from February, March to April and May, all the way into some parts of June, the dominance started to fall quite a bit. And we noticed that when we tracked the Bitcoin price too, where Bitcoin price hit all-time highs and people started to rotate those profits into alts. So what we saw here, and you can follow this along, by 31st March, the Bitcoin dominance had fell by 10%. Now, 10% of a market cap of a $1.9 trillion asset is $190 billion. So that indicates that $190 billion, these are not exact data points, but generally what it's indicating is $190 billion of those assets had started to move into other coins, which are, like large caps like Ethereum, Solana, you have Tron, you have Avalanche, you have Base, you have so many other chains that have their own ecosystems. And then those chains with their own ecosystems, their own DeFi coins, NFTs, Ordinals on Bitcoin, start to see those movements. Well, if you follow that further down all the way to end of April, Bitcoin dominance fell to an all-time low of that cycle until that point, which was 42.8%. So that means, let's do some quick maths, right? So from the high of 61% to 42%. So if we look at the current market cap of Bitcoin, which is $1.9 trillion, and we want to kind of understand how much money is going to be moving over. So that's roughly 20% of the total market cap that Bitcoin has, where its dominance falls and starts to move into alts. So we're looking at roughly about $381 billion that will move from Bitcoin profits into alts. That is considering that the market cap of Bitcoin will stay the same, which it will not. So this will likely be a larger amount. So we can see inflows upwards of 350, 380, maybe even 400 billion coming into alts, which is why I've been saying that we're likely to see a bull season and an alt season unlike one that we have seen before. Let's kind of observe what happened when Bitcoin dominance fell to the price of Bitcoin itself versus other assets. So again, we monitored here the price, the dominance kind of staying steady between end of January and end of February and falling much lower towards the end of April, right? So let's go over real quick to the Bitcoin price chart itself. And let's look at all, and then let's focus in here. Let me zoom in for you guys so it's easier to see. And what we're going to do is we're going to zoom into the 21 cycle. So here we are. So we have right at January to February, the Bitcoin dominance remained at a relatively higher level. And then while Bitcoin dominance remained at a higher level all the way until like end of March, you saw Bitcoin price really skyrocketing, and it kind of follows that pattern of the chart, right? And then afterwards, towards the end of April, you'll notice that there's a bit of a correction on the price. Right here towards the end of April was all-time low until that point of Bitcoin dominance, and Bitcoin price had gone from 61.5K to all the way down to 50K. And again, when this happens, and it will very likely happen, I want you to kind of bookmark this point in the stream and come back to it around April. When this correction happens, everybody will be like, this correction in our cycle could be Bitcoin correcting from 150 to 100K, or correcting from 200K all the way to 150 or 120K. And I do think that that price pump is coming. And then when that correction happens, once again, people are going to be like, oh my God, the bull market's over. That's it. Let's pack our bags. Let's call it a day. But realistically, what's happening is that some of those profits are moving into altcoins. And then those altcoin profits, as they surge, people rotate them back. Like as you can see over here, by May 9th, Bitcoin dominance went up again because there was a circulation back into Bitcoin. And then, after that, there's generally a bit of a correction throughout the summer. And then, we see towards the end of the year, the dominance rise again to start off like the final leg of the bull market that you start to see. Now, how does this correlate and impact with the other coins that you might be interested in? So let's take a look at one of the big movers from the last market cycle. So I'm going to go here and take a look at Doge, for example, right? So here we have Dogecoin, and we're going to go to all. And once again, we're going to look at those specific dates, right? So let's kind of zoom in here. What we're interested in are dates around the January, February day where Bitcoin dominance was a little bit higher. Okay, so right here around January, February, we had a little bit of an uptick for Doge, as there's market excitement, prices going up. But then February to March, Doge corrected, and let's look at the market cap instead of the price because it'll be a little bit easier to dissect it that way. So right around here, we can see in March, Doge market cap corrected from an all-time high of 10 billion all the way down to about 6 billion, right? So a 40% drop. This looks like a small blip now, but when you actually zoom into what people were feeling at that time, this is a big scare for a lot of folks. So let's kind of zoom into that period. And it's always like in hindsight, when you go back and look at it, that looks like such a minuscule dip, but this was a 40% reduction, almost a 40% reduction in the market cap of Doge as Bitcoin dominance started to take off. And we saw that, right? Bitcoin dominance has a great impact on the price of other alts. When we started to see Bitcoin dominance taper off towards the end of March, end of April, you can see Doge's market cap. Of course, there's other events that correlate with that. Elon Musk went on SNL talked about Doge and many other things. And so you started to see the market cap of other assets, Doge in this example, going from $8.32 billion, which is still 20% less than the all-time high that people had seen all the way back in February of 2021. It went from $8.3 billion all the way to $41 billion, right? And then you had a bit of a correction, and then towards the beginning of May or end of April timeframe, where Bitcoin dominance was an all-time low, Doge saw all-time highs in its market cap, with all of that money flowing from the Bitcoin profits into altcoins like Doge, into the DeFi ecosystem across EVM, ecosystems across Ethereum, across Solana. And this time, I think a lot of that is going to continue to flow from Bitcoin itself to Bitcoin tokens too. So we saw the Doge market cap go to $84 billion, guys. This was on May 5th, right? This is what we saw in the previous cycle. Now, May 5th, as I've shown you, around May of last year, we have a near all-time low. So right here, we have a near all-time low of Bitcoin dominance. So when Bitcoin dominance falls below it, what is that indicating, right? What is Bitcoin dominance at its core? Bitcoin dominance is saying a lot of people have money in Bitcoin versus other chains. When that dominance falls below, it means people are taking money away from BTC and Bitcoin and moving it to other assets on other chains. So that's exactly what we're seeing happen. And right now, that's why I'm not super concerned. It looks like a lot of people are holding assets into Bitcoin because they are doing the same kind of research that I'm showing you here, where they're following the previous patterns. They don't really want to move and pay a premium for assets right now when they know that these assets can, fall below to a lower price. They want to get in the right entry and then ride the wave up and liquidate at the right position to acquire more Bitcoin. So hopefully that's making some sense. Now, we have a few things that have happened differently in this cycle. Namely, we have obviously Trump, which has launched and done tremendous amount of volume. And it has already shown that it can reach, a significant market cap and an FDV. So right now, Trump's market cap is $3.45 billion with an FDV of $17 billion. It has already broken past, near $70 billion FDV, which is what a lot of people in the Solana ecosystem look at when they were trading in Photon and other apps. You don't really see the market cap to FDV difference between the circulating and uncirculating supply. So we've seen the 4-minute mile already broken. So this kind of, in a good way, it scares me to think of what happens to tokens like Dog on Bitcoin, what happens to tokens like Wine, which is projected to be Elon Musk's own coin, considering that Wine is IP that is owned by X, and X is owned by Elon. The founder of Wine has launched this coin. So these coins that are great conviction plays are really, really interesting to watch. So yeah, that's a bit of a market update. So you're asking, what about the Bitcoin dominance difference now between wholesale and retail? We don't have BlackRock ETC, and they're not flipping into alts. Okay, so that's a great point. Crapshoot brought up a great question. Thank you for asking that on X. So there is a different factor where you don't have sort of these the retail wholesale or wholesale investor or the typical Bitcoin degen trader that is holding Bitcoin assets in large amounts and then moving them into Ethereum and Sol and going in the trenches to try to double and triple their profits in alt season. You have BlackRock holding a significant amount of ETFs. And so the way you can consider this, and Crapshoot, to your point, is that it will start to look more like the stock market this cycle. And in future cycles, I think it will look more and more like institutionalized stock markets. So unlike the typical degen trader, what we'll likely see is that Bitcoin dominance not necessarily falling with people rotating assets, but instead having the ability to do what has been done for a long time in stocks and in liquid assets, where they'll borrow against an inflated asset price and then they'll go buy cheaper assets. So you might see Bitcoin dominance remaining the same, not necessarily a sell-off or a price correction for Bitcoin, but instead borrowing against that. Think of it, if you have, let's say, $100 billion worth of Bitcoin that has inflated to be worth $250 billion worth of Bitcoin because of the price increase, instead of selling it because of the ETF and the liquidity markets that are available, you can borrow against that, take the 50 billion out of that profit and allocate that towards Ethereum, towards Solana, towards Bitcoin tokens themselves, other assets, other ETF classes that might be introduced. I do think there are going to be significant ETF classes introduced in this cycle. We're already seeing Trump meme coin ETF to have been submitted by a few of these brokerages. I can see ETFs being introduced for tokens on Bitcoin like Dog, like Wine, like many others. If those tokens garner a large enough community, large enough attention, you'll start to see some of that capital move into ETF to ETF scenario, which still supports the on-chain price because they have to actually secure those assets through custodial partners like Coinbase. So you'll still have buy pressure. It will just come, in my opinion, in a different form. So hopefully that answers your question and makes a bit of sense. That it will be obviously a bit of a different play cycle in my opinion, but I think it will still play out. Okay, so with that, I see the community's enjoying some of the updates. I am going to move into some of the updates I want to share about the Wine coin and the Wine app updates. So for those of you that don't know, just about, I think it was on January 22nd that this happened. So about 2 weeks ago at this point, one of the co-founders of the Wine app, if you don't know what the Wine app is, if you're familiar with TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, all of these platforms would not exist if it wasn't for Wine, which was an app that was highly popular in the 2010 era and then became highly popular when it got acquired in 2013 by Twitter at that time. Twitter kind of mismanaged the app at that point. They sidelined the founders. Russ, who was one of the three co-founders, also talked about this when in 2017, Twitter ended up shutting down Wine. And the app was not shut down because it lost popularity. In fact, some of the largest creators in the space today, whether it's Logan Paul, Jake Paul, King Bach, Amanda Cerny, one of my great friends and co-hosts of a Wine Tribe community space, Cristiano Cavino, Bad Dad, so many others got their start from the Wine app. A lot of the stars of today that we know started off in the Wine app. It was 6-second videos that looped and it was absolute hilarity. So this app had a huge fan base and people were really upset that it's getting shut down because it was costing Twitter $10 million a year and they just weren't doing a good job of managing it. Well, on January 22nd, Russ, one of the co-founders of Wine, announced the Wine coin. He released this Wine coin and this coin absolutely went bonkers, breaking records, achieving $1.35 billion in daily volume in the first day, which while remaining at a market cap of sub $400 million. This is a feat that no other coin in history that I know of has achieved. Not even Trump. I monitored Trump's market cap to volume ratio. And when Trump's volume reached near $1 billion, it was about $990 million. At that snapshot point, Trump's market cap had already surpassed $1 billion. And so what's happening is that in the initial stages, there was a lot of speculation. People weren't sure, is Russ's account hacked? Is this real? Because earlier in the day, there was another account that was hacked as well, and people were just unsure. So the short pressure against the Wine coin was extremely high. Like it was, if you're familiar with cars, each car has this coil spring. This is the analogy I like to explain, the shock spring that keeps, the weight and balance of it. And if you watch any videos on this, when you uncoil this thing, it's just like so compressed because it has to take on the weight of the car that it just absolutely goes bonkers. And that's sort of the amount of short pressure that we are seeing against Wine because a lot of traders didn't understand why a coin that is sub $400 million market cap is getting so much volume and attention. Now, volume alone is not a great indicator because it could just mean that it could be wash trading. It could mean that, it could just be a lot of sell pressure. But what we were seeing is the price remained steady at the buy and sell levels, and the holder count kept increasing with organic holders, not just dust holders that are essentially fake holders. So we saw the holder count also increase to over 144,000 holders in less than 3 days, reaching an all-time high of above 150,000 holders. And as the price has gone up and corrected back because of the market cycle and some of the explanation I've mentioned, the holder count has, for the large part, remained pretty strong and steady, sitting at over 125,000 holders now. H-Bar, one of our fellow members of the Wine Tribe community, has actually created a community on X by the name of Wine Tribe. It's almost at 7.5K members now in just less than 2 weeks. It is growing to close to 10K. You're welcome to join that community. It's linked on my profile on X. If you click on my profile, you'll see that community. You can join that there too. And then furthermore, recently, Russ has actually leaked the beta of the Wine app, which is extremely exciting. It looks great. That beta, actually, I can showcase it right now. Russ has also released the Telegram channel for Wine, the official Telegram channel. So let's first go and look at the Wine beta. Here we go. So I am going to play this. So this is the Wine app beta. Now, how did we find this? So this is a day where people were looking for updates, and Russ has been releasing these updates. Who's Russ? He's one of the co-founders of Wine. So we've been there's a whole community, including great contributors in the community like HBAR, Josh, Cristiano Cavino, Wise. I'm going to miss so many names, but check out the Wine Tribe spaces. There's so many amazing contributors who are regularly holding 24/7 spaces. And the community was doing like sort of these Easter egg hunts to find little tidbits of information to uncover whether Wine is actually coming back or not. So Russ had on the official Wine site on wineco.in/beta, he had embedded the code for this video. And so we found this video, which is obviously on a newer iPhone. This iPhone wasn't around when there was no Wine app was in circulation. So we saw the Wine beta, we saw its interface come out and get released, and it was like really exciting. What excites me about Wine specifically is not just the number go up community that's just following it for the trading aspect, but there's a whole community of creators that are really, really excited about creating content again on the Wine app. So Bat Dad, as I mentioned, Cristiano Cavino, who had the Wine News and Wine Encyclopedia, and so many other contributions to the Wine community, and some major influencers and creators in the space, as I mentioned, like Logan Paul, Jake Paul, King Bach, Amanda Cerny, and many, many more. Really, I think the creator list could really go into the millions of people that are excited to come back to the platform and really enjoy it. So there's much more than just the number go up community. There's a mission behind it where people want to just do it for the Wine and really have that amazing 6-second loop content coming back. Now, the speculation is that it's going to get integrated directly into X. So if we want to talk about like, why do we believe that that's happening? Why do we think that it has a chance to get integrated into X? So we saw a couple of things you need to know about the background of why we believe Wine is getting integrated into X. One, Wine IP, the Wine app IP, is actually owned by Twitter. And a few years ago, as we know, Elon Musk bought Twitter for $44 billion. And when he bought Twitter, he bought the IP for Wine as well. Now, he has been teasing about bringing Wine back. So earlier on October 30th, 2022, he had done a poll on his profile asking, should we bring Wine back? 4.9 million people voted for this, and the yes votes were 69.6%, no votes were 30.4%. 2 years later, year and a half, 2 years later, on April 17, he did the vote again, bring Wine back. This time 2.2 million people voted, but look at the stats, exactly matching before. Almost indicating that Elon is working the polls a little bit here to, kind of have obviously the joke, the trolling number of 69, 69.6, who knows, maybe 69.69420, because he just loves to joke with numbers, and that could be the percentage. So we know that he's trolling a little bit and he's having fun, sort of indicating that. Furthermore, we know that Russ has launched the Winecoin, which is the co-founder of Wine, and he's launched a thread talking about how it would integrate into X, including highlighting how XAI's algorithm, which is poised to be one of the most powerful AIs out there, more powerful than ChatGPT, more powerful than the LLMs presented by DeepSeek or anything else, are going to improve content discovery. And then furthermore, we have other engineers talking about should we integrate Wine into the video feed, and Elon Musk responding to those engineers saying, yes, that's a great idea, we should do that. So we have a lot of factors now indicating that the Wine app is going to be integrated directly into the X feed. And then furthermore, let's go to Russ's profile because we'll be able to see it from there. You'll notice that we now have the official Wine Telegram channel also created, and Russ is talking about potentially doing a Super Bowl ad. It's a little bit close to Super Bowl, so that plan is not really going to pan out in my opinion, but there are other things like I will be really cool to see like a set of cool OG historical Wine short form videos listed on the Sphere, and then a logo that comes up in the Las Vegas Sphere that says do it for the Wine, and then it has a Wine coin logo. That could be really interesting to see. We also have 6-second videos that are released by Russ himself. We have the WWE that has released 6-second videos saying this could have been a Wine. We have Jake Paul and Logan Paul releasing content with 6-second videos, and 6 seconds is really key because those are the OG Vines. I do think X will still have short form videos, but it's getting so, like, it's not even likely at this point. We know Vine is coming back. We have the official Telegram linked right here on vineco.in, which is the official site for the coin. So yeah, lots of exciting things happening in the Vine universe. And once again, if you want to join the community, you can head over to my profile. My user ID is Taha Abbasi, and then right here the community is linked. This community size right now is sitting at 7.4k members. You can be one of those members, come in and get the alpha about all of the latest items that are occurring for Vine. I've also put together a bit of a community website for this, which pulls together stats. So for example, right here, you can see Vine's ranked by volume. It is the 8th most traded token across all of the Solana ecosystem, with the only tokens that are traded more at this point are Jupiter, Fartcoin, Dog, Hat, Trump, Sol, USDC, and USDT. And what's crazy is that look at the market cap differences of each one of these tokens versus the market cap of Vinecoin. So Vinecoin is sitting at $133 million market cap right now. The next token above it, or even the token below it, Radium, is sitting at $1.4 billion market cap with a trading volume of 153 million. Vine is sitting with a trading volume of 197 million with a market cap of only 133 million. It is so undervalued right now. Every single token above it that has similar volume is sitting at a multiple of its volume in terms of market cap. Vine is the only one where the volume is a multiple of its market cap, and that is likely, I mean, it's inevitable at this point that it's going to change, in my opinion. So those are some updates about Vine. There's a lot more happening in the space. The way you can learn more about it is you want to go and follow some of these amazing contributors. One of them is HBAR. You have Cristiano Cavino. You want to follow these creators, and they're doing spaces on a pretty regular basis. So you can see right now this space is being held. There's a bunch of listeners in there, and these spaces kind of run 24/7. You also have Vice, who's running a space. You have Josh, who's running the space. You have a lot of these folks that you can follow on X, and then you can follow one of their spaces. You can join the Vine Tribe community and get all the latest updates from there. If you have any questions, if you're watching this on X, it makes a big difference if you like, repost, and especially bookmark this on X. That really helps with the engagement, get the word out. So if you like this kind of content, like to see more streams on a regular basis, do let me know that in the comments too. I would love some feedback if you like a different format. I'm really interested in that. I really want to help demystify what's happening in crypto, the markets, how to engage with the Bitcoin ecosystem, with specific really passionate communities in the Solana and other ecosystems as well. So if you want to see some of that content, do let me know. If you're watching on YouTube, take a moment to like the video, and subscribe to my channel as well. That really does make a big difference for the YouTube algorithm. So with that, let's get into this second, the third topic of the day, which are the updates related to Dog. So what is exactly Dog? There have been, we know about Dogecoin, we know about Shiba Inu, we know about so many other coins that have launched, and these coins have launched either as an independent chain like Dogecoin itself, or they've launched on Ethereum or on Solana or on different ecosystems. Well, we talked about Bitcoin dominance earlier, where Bitcoin dominance is sitting at 61% of the size of the entire market, meaning that's how much is the market of Bitcoin, is 61% of the size of all of crypto. And then we also talked about how underutilized BTC as an asset is on the DeFi side of Bitcoin, because DeFi wasn't really possible on Bitcoin until like about 2 years ago when Ordinals protocol was launched by Casey Rodarmore. Bitcoin utilization for DeFi related assets is sitting at less than 1%. Comparatively, on the Ethereum side and EVM side, the utilization of ETH is about 25 to 30% depending on what's happening in the market. So about 25 to 30% of close to $400 billion. It's sitting at, let's go with 25. It's about 10 billion worth of the assets on ETH, $100 billion worth of assets on ETH are being utilized for DeFi related activities. Well, if you apply the same marker to Bitcoin, you're going to have $475 billion worth of Bitcoin that is going to be utilized to tap into the Bitcoin DeFi market. Well, that's very exciting because now you have tokens on Bitcoin. So now the question becomes, which tokens should you be paying attention to? Well, one of the largest tokens on Bitcoin, there's something called the dog dominance on Bitcoin tokens. The largest token by market cap on Bitcoin as a Bitcoin token is Dog Go to the Moon, or the Dog Bitcoin token. Now, this token was launched free and fair. It was launched as closely aligned to Bitcoin as possible. You can check out some of the content on my X or my YouTube profile to learn a bit more about it. I have a whole playlist that talks about this. It's got over 100,000 holders at this point, and there is no concentration of supply at the top, much like the Vine token as well, which is why I'm so bullish on these tokens. And then furthermore, it continues to do record-breaking volume numbers. You can see the patterns of the kind of tokens I follow. I do a lot of research and trying to find the gems with a solid community and a solid mission. The mission of Dog is to onboard millions of people to Bitcoin using this sort of mimetic message of a great community, a passionate community that is fighting against sort of this insider and VC back pump and dump, tokens that you see all across the space, where a lot of newcomers end up being used as exit liquidity. Well, Dog, there's some exciting things happening on Dog. So far, Dog was only available to be purchased on platforms like Magic Eden, which is a marketplace in the Bitcoin ecosystem, or on DotSwap, or through apps like Xverse. Well, Slingshot, which is an app similar to Moonshot, if you're familiar with it, which you can download on the App Store, and you can buy tokens directly with Apple Pay or a credit card that you saved into the app. So making the interface very easy. Slingshot has been teasing for 3 days now that they're going to start integrating Bitcoin tokens into their platform. And of course, if they're integrating Bitcoin tokens into the platform, they're not going to ignore the largest token by market cap, the token that has 43% of the size of the entire Bitcoin token economy, right? So this is why I'm very, very bullish on Dog, because the community that over the last 9 months has built out a massive, passionate base of holders, a set of holders who've gone through multiple correction periods and continue to remain strong, which is exactly what I've seen with the Vine community. And it's a community that's really, really welcoming to newcomers. If you're from the Solana ecosystem or EVM ecosystem, you can come learn about Bitcoin and take advantage of the Bitcoin ecosystem and the plays that you might want to learn about over here. I want to show you one interesting statistic about what's been happening with Dog and its movement. So over the last week, we have 539K posts about Trump. We have 172.9K posts about Wine, the Wine tag, and we have 165.2K posts about Dog. So these are 3 of the most mentioned tokens in the entire space. Imagine the president's token, the president of the United States token, the Wine token, which is likely to be Elon's token, and then Dog, which I look at it as Satoshi Nakamoto's token because it is spearheading Satoshi's message. So these 3 tokens are the ones that are most talked about. Now, Trump is the only one out of this which has a massive supply issue. 80% of the supply is locked up and we don't know what's going to happen there. But both of these other coins, as you go down the list, the supply gets more and more exciting. Wine, of course, 5% of the supply is of devs, but there's a product being utilized. And I don't have anything against tokens that keep a supply for the development, adoption, ecosystem support when there's actual product like the Wine app, which is going to be integrated into X being developed. For Dog, it really pioneers the fact that for a true meme coin where you just have a JPEG and a community, you don't really need to have a massive supply for the team or for the dev. Like, you just launch a token, that's all you need. The rest is building the community around it. And Leonidas, who launched this volunteer initiative, who's the leader of this movement, has earned tokens the same way anyone else would have, which is he had to engage in the ecosystem to earn his runestones, and then he would have to hold those runestones to get his Dog airdrop. And he, in fact, is not even one of the largest holders in the space. In fact, the top 5 holders of Dog hold less than 6% of the supply of the token, which is drastically different from what you see in a lot of the ecosystems where the top 5 holders will end up holding like 60% of the supply, as is the case for Nero, for example. So very, very interesting things happening about Dog. This is a token that you definitely want to do your research on, and the best place that you can do your research is head over to my YouTube channel. There's actually a playlist for Dog. In fact, I can show that on the screen right now. I think that might be helpful for those that are interested in learning more. So if you go to YouTube, you search my name, Taha Abbasi, you'll see, obviously this come up. Go into playlists, and then under playlist, right here, there's a playlist called Story of Dog Bitcoin. the meme coin destined to flip Doge. And there's a set of videos that tell you the entire story of Dog from start to finish, tell you why I'm bullish on it and why I do think it is a conviction play this cycle. I do think that Vine, Dog, and a few other tokens are going to be the new narrative, and Doge will no longer be the largest meme coin in the space. I think that these coins are really likely to flip Doge and become the new leading players in the space. There are obviously continuing to be exciting updates where Dog is also at the precipice of getting listed on multiple tier 1 exchanges. Another token that is extremely undervalued. And if you look at its price action since launch, it has gone through similar correction periods where you have a lot of short interest against it, but the volume numbers are absolutely bonkers, with 19 million in volume over the last 24 hours, having reached over 150 million in volume on a pretty regular basis. The all-time chart looks very, very healthy, where you can see it going through its peaks and valleys, going through those accumulation phases, and then currently entering another one of the accumulation phases. Again, it's ideal to look at these tokens not when they're in their peaks, but when they're in the valleys, where acquiring them is really exciting. Obviously, I'm not sharing any of this as financial advice. You need to do your own research and make your own investment thesis. I'm hoping to share this information to highlight some things for you so that you can make appropriate decisions about, which tokens you might want to get into and which tokens fit your investment theses and your ethos. So that's a bit about Dog. Really, really excited about the community. Proud to be a member of the Dog Army. The Brazilian Dog Army is one of the largest segments. I'd like to see more communities forming and sharing that message and sort of enjoying the ride up, because this February period is really going to be that period where those of you that don't get shaken out because of the Bitcoin dominance going up, February going into March, you get to acquire these tokens at a price that is unlikely to be seen when the Bitcoin dominance starts to fall and these tokens start going towards their parabolic run. Okay, so with that, I think we're in the final part of the stream where I'm going to be talking a little bit about one new platform that has occurred, shown up on the Bitcoin ecosystem, and then I'll end with some Ordinals Alpha. So the last thing I wanna cover here, as far as Bitcoin meme coins, is a really exciting new platform that has come out. But this platform, so if you are on the Solana ecosystem, you know about Pump.Fun. And Pump.Fun obviously is a platform that allows you to get involved with tokens that anybody can really launch. These tokens tend to stay on this platform until they've achieved a certain amount of market cap and trading volume. So you come in here, they have to reach a certain amount of a market cap, which is when the bonding curve is met, and then they ascend. After the bonding curve is met, they actually get added to other dexes for trading, and that certain amount of the liquidity from that bonding curve is also moved into that pool for liquidity. So you can see over here, for example, this one is at 47,000. It hasn't reached the required market cap limit yet. Other tokens may reach that and sometimes some tokens reach in a matter of seconds if it's a really popular meme coin. So this is primarily how a lot of tokens in the Solana ecosystem that are in the meme movement are launched. Something funny gets said, something trendy gets said, or gets shared in media, and then there's a token that goes around it. And if people like the idea, purchase that token early on Pump.Fun and then take advantage of the price action as it gets listed on exchanges like Radium. So this ecosystem was missing on the side of Bitcoin. Bitcoin didn't have anything like that was formidable. There were a few implementations of it, but nothing formidable. Well, that has changed now with a new platform called Odin Fun, which is launched now. And they have, instead of reaching the bonding curve limit, they call them, they have a different name for it because they're following this Odin theme. So what you can see here is, let me just hide this real quick so we can get a better view. So what you can see here is that there's different tokens, once again, like Pump.Fun, that can be launched. And then as they reach a certain level of transactions and volume and market cap, then they ascend. When they ascend, then they become tradable. Right now, there's not an AMM, and I don't know if there will be an AMM on Bitcoin ever, but there's order matching services. Odin also has an order matching service, and you can then, provide liquidity for the token that you've acquired before it ascended. You can create new tokens very easily, and then you can partake in trading them as well during this period while they're tradable before Ascension, and after Ascension then you can trade them regularly too. I'm going to be following this platform. If you're somebody that's interested in trading meme coins on Bitcoin tokens specifically, you definitely want to check out Odin Fun. It is available to the public right now, and what's also exciting about it is how this platform operates, where you don't have to approve a Bitcoin transaction every time. You connect your wallet, you can connect your XVerse, Magic Eden, OKX, multiple Bitcoin wallets, including the Phantom wallet, by the way. So for those of you that are on Solana, you can actually connect your Phantom wallet, get it funded with Bitcoin, and work with this platform. And then you can purchase multiple transactions in a matter of seconds because a wallet on the platform gets funded, and it operates more like a centralized exchange order matching service, but it is on Bitcoin right now. And it's an application layer built on top of that. So it's something that I am really looking at closely. And if you haven't tried it out, I do encourage you to give it a shot. Let me know your feedback as well as you guys take a look at that. Once again, the existing tokens like DOG are not tradable on here yet. They have announced, the founders of Odin have announced that they are going to be integrating existing tokens too. Right now, this platform is only available for new tokens called Odin Fun. Now I want to highlight the last part of the stream, which is a collection that we recently launched. So this is my profile or my cover image right now. It's the IBB collection. It was launched in celebration of the presidential inauguration of the first pro crypto president. The collection is called I'm Back Bitches. It is available on Magic Eden as well. I believe if you search IBB, it should show up. Yeah, here we go. So if you search IBB, it'll show up. Obviously, it's a collection that we did a free airdrop on. There was no mint for it. We airdropped it to over 3.5K holders. Why was this collection launched is what I want to talk about momentarily here for a second, because I think that's really important and kind of speaks to the whole mission of why I started to create content in the space to begin with, right? So what I realized is that so a lot of people might not know I am a software architect by training. I'm a developer actually by training, and have been doing work as a software architect in the space for quite some time. And I realized that a lot of people come and ask questions about like, hey, how do I update this filter on Magic Eden? How do I update this trait? How can I launch this kind of collection with a parent-child inscription? And launching NFTs on Bitcoin, while are extremely valuable, it was not clear how to do it. And I didn't know how to do it. I've never launched an NFT collection on Bitcoin. And I wasn't getting clear answers from different spaces. The documentation was lackluster, to say the least. So I figured the best way to learn is to go and launch a collection. But I didn't want to have people pay any money for this collection because it was more experimental and it was more of a movement. So what I did is identified a bunch of communities and I documented the process all the way going from the ideation and art process. So what does it take to create that art? The limitations of the Bitcoin blockchain, what are the size limitations of the art pieces you need to inscribe, and then how can you take the art pieces, in this case there were a variety of 9 different art pieces, how can you assign traits to them, how can you delegate them to a collection that is going to have 4721 supply, so 4,721 ordinals need to be connected to these art pieces. How can you establish a prominent parent-child prominence, so to ensure that there's authority, so if somebody else launches a collection with the same image, people know that this is the official collection because they can follow it all the way up to its hierarchy. And then how can you get it listed on Magic Eden and add all the filters and traits? Like for example, if you go to Magic Eden right now for this specific collection and you go to the filter tab, you'll notice a few different types of filters that are available, such as, you have attributes, you have degen level, you have the rarity filter. So how is it that you add all of this? And this was not clear to people, and you would never know this stuff unless you launch a collection or go through a multitude of documentation and multitude of messages. So the goal with this collection was to go through this exercise and to highlight the process, to document that process and to let the world know. So other artists, creators, maybe you are watching this stream right now and you have an idea about an art piece or ordinals collection you want to launch, but you're intimidated by all the effort it takes to launch one. Well, fear not. Because of the I'm Back Bitches collection, the IBB collection, now our team is documenting the whole process. I'll be making a set of tutorial videos. I'll be making a set of guides that I will share that goes over how you can go from the process of having the idea about the art piece or the general idea you have about Ordinal all the way until getting it listed on Magic Eden. So that holistic journey is going to be shared. And then we have a few folks that have collected the entire collection. We're thinking of really cool ways. We have some ideas around Bitcoin games that can be created and other collection elements that can be created in the future now that we've gone through this experimental collection. So we will be giving some benefits to those that do collect the full piece and the full art, full set of the art from this collection too, just to kind of thank them for supporting the movement as well. So IBB is really exciting. And then this also allows us to highlight some of the exciting things that are happening in the space and to show others how those exciting things are happening. So for example, if you look at Pizza Ninjas specifically, a lot of people don't realize that Pizza Ninjas are actually not just simple JPEGs. So this is what you see when you look at a Pizza Ninja ordinal, right? You see this image that gets populated, but in reality, it's actually a code file that is rendered. So you can see this is quite massive. I'm gonna go ahead and copy this inscription ID, and then I'm going to go to another site called ord.io. And I'm gonna pull up that inscription ID over there so that I can show you the code that actually renders this image. So first of all, when you look at this, is actually what is behind the Pizza Ninja. It is this HTML code, which is bringing together different parts of the inscriptions that have been inscribed by the Pizza Ninjas team. That includes the head, the body, the different attributes, and it renders them to show you this beautiful image of a Pizza Ninja, right? And if you scroll down on Ord.io, you can actually see the recursive modules. You can see the body. You can see the headpiece. You can see the accessories that are assigned, the face masks, the bandanas. You can see the sashes and everything. All of that you can see being representative. In a way, it is generative art that is pulling these pieces together and assigning unique colors to make sure that it is a unique Pizza Ninja. Well, how would you know how you can create this kind of collection? There's not really a lot of clear documentation. Pizza Ninjas have done a great job of documenting it, but it's not their job to tell the entire world how to do it. And then we have a new collection that was recently launched by the name of Portraits. And Portraits is a collection that initially launched showing a certain image, and then it recursively showed what that image was going to turn into. And further, they're using a unique endpoint. You can see over here that this has a value, it says 1 sat per VByte 8.1 minutes ago. It has a value where you can actually associate runes and Bitcoin tokens with it, right? So very, very interesting. It's a dynamic, engaging collection. It's very, very crazy, the technology that has been implemented in here. So I'm going to be highlighting some of these technology use cases in the coming days and weeks as well, which is another reason if you're interested in learning about how these collections are launched, the technology goes behind it, you might want to consider subscribing to the channel. But those are some of the things I wanted to cover on this stream. I've been going at it for about an hour, guys. I hope you enjoyed some of the content that has been shared. Again, if you do like streams like this, it really does help on X to like, to bookmark and repost them. Do share in the comments. I do take time to read them and will do my best to respond to each and every one of them that I can. With any feedback you might have, with the kind of content you might like to see in the future. I'm really passionate about the development and the progress that's happening in the Bitcoin ecosystem with ordinals and runes. I'm also very passionate about communities that get behind a movement, which is why I'm really passionate about the Vine coin specifically and the massive community that is behind that, the creators that are behind that. I really want to support these causes. So if you're from either one of those communities, do let me know the kind of content you'd like to see. And I want to thank you for taking the time. I know it's very valuable. Time is one of our most valuable resources, and I don't take it lightly. It means the world to me. Thank you for taking that time to do that. And I appreciate you guys, joining me on this stream. Once again, looking forward to your feedback, looking forward to seeing you in my next videos. And I for sure cannot do it without all of you that take the time to like, comment, and engage with my content. So I really appreciate all of that. Thank you again, and have a fantastic day, guys.